Welcome, STEMgineers, to STEM to Stern, the podcast where curiosity meets critical thinking. Join Chauntée and Jake as they discuss STEM topics that spark debate and exploration.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to STEM to Stern. I'm Jake.
I'm Chauntée.
And today we are talking about what we think is the biggest misconception in the field of climate change.
Yes, so I would say immediately, oftentimes we think climate change is represented by what's happening right now in weather, right? So for instance, oh, it's really cold outside. How is that climate change? Which I understand why that would be what you go to, because it's like, oh, well, it's cold. How can it be the warming happening? But it's not just the everyday occurrence. It's the heating that's happening based on human activity. So if you think about like the sea level, that's impacted by climate change. Or for instance, the yield of our agriculture, like the yield that we're getting from that is impacted by climate change. So stuff that's happening in our communities is impacted by that. Not just, oh, it's cold today or it's really hot today. So that's climate change. That's not what it is.
So you have to look over a larger span of time and take averages and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of times we just think, oh, well, it has to be what's happening now. We're having snowstorms. But if you think about like the abnormal weather that we've been having, for instance, a lot more tornadoes and hurricanes are happening, which is devastatingly impacting our human being functionality. Just in Florida and all of those states that got hit really hard with these massive storms. That's what's being impacted by us not taking care of Earth.
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying is very true. Like you can't use a single data point to prove or disprove that climate change is real. I mean, it very much is real. You can't look at like, oh, it's cold today, so much for global warming. But additionally, you can't also look at a single hurricane. You have to look at all the hurricanes over the course of the past few decades.
And that's literally the scientific method that we're talking about, right? So you think about when you're doing scientific research, you can't just say, oh, this is a result we got based on this moment. And that be the answer.
You have to do it again and again.
Right. And so that's what is happening now. We're researching, like, why are we getting impacted by so many storms? Why are we not getting as many crops? What's happening with our soil and what's happening with our sea level? So why is this taking place? Take that information and base it on research that's being done over years of time and do comparison with that. You can't just go with it.
Exactly. I think from my point of view, I think one of the things that I've heard before is like people are like, oh, well, the climate does naturally change. So, humans can't have an impact on it. And it is true that like over the course of, hundreds of thousands of years, there's cycles that we go through hot and cold. But I would say my number one misconception that people talk about when it comes to climate change is that the rate at which change is happening right now is way higher than it naturally should be. And so that's kind of my take on that.
That's your thing. I like that approach. I do like to compare it with, like, let's say pollution in the sea. If I'm in the ocean, I'm out with my family on a boat in the ocean, and I have a spoon that's a plastic spoon and it flies into the ocean. Did I contribute to the problem? That spoon is like, oh, well, that's going to impact that spoon itself is not going to impact a ton of people is what I'm saying, or a ton of animals, but it is going to impact. But if I do that and you do that and everyone does that, then that's what builds up.
It's a collective
little
thing.
Things that we are doing, while they seem like, oh, they're not very big deal, they are a big deal, because if we all do that, then that's what's happening with pollution. But the same thing with climate change, we're impacting it. So we need to think about the consequences of what we're doing. And making sure that we are doing our best to make it better for the next generation.
Absolutely.
So yeah, tell us what you think though. And also, just tell us what your experience has been with the weather changes that are happening. What do you feel like it's more than what it used to be? Do you feel like it's not? Do you feel like what we're doing is not helping, or what we're doing is helping? And how can we help? Let us know, because we want to know what you think.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Later.
Thanks for tuning in to STEM to Stern. We hope today's episode got you thinking. If you enjoyed the discussion, subscribe and share it with others. And be sure to check out our show notes for free resources and links that go along with today's episode. Until next time, keep questioning and keep exploring, STEMgineers.